Hey guys, just wanted to give you a heads up. Had a meeting today with the city manager, the finance director, and the assistant city manager on a conference call in regards to. I had called Joe in regards to use of our perfect attendance time, which is running out here in the very near future, and also about guys that had vacation. That is expiring here in June and July. So we met with Joe, explained the situation with perfect attendance time. He said, sure, we'll just pay him out. I said that's great, and I'm sure there's some guys that will take advantage of that. I said, except for in the beginning of the year, there were guys that were asked whether they want to pay or time, and they took time. And for some guys, time is more important than the pay. So that he said, well, what's the solution to that? And I said, well, you can offer the guys pay or allow them to roll it over. Rolling it over pushes it farther down the line. Hopefully that the city finances have stabilized by that time. That would be good. So he has went for that for perfect attendance. So for the guys that have existing perfect attendance, I will be contacting you in the next day here in regards to what you would like to do with that perfect attendance, pay or roll it over. I need to give him an answer on Monday in regards to that to get you guys that check cut if you take pay ASAP. As far as vacation time, the vacations in June, there was 3 guys that it affected. Shane was one, Adam Mills was the other, and Tommy Baumgartner, I believe. They've all been contacted with what they have allowed them. If you have a June or July up to July 31st, they have the option of pay for their existing days that they have not been able to use, or they can roll that over to the next. So they have been made aware of that, and we'll make those decisions as it goes. If we continue on down that path, we'll revisit past July 31st. After that topic, I brought up the idea that for those that know, for those that don't know, I think everybody pretty much knows, but if not, the city on Friday, the fire chief received a letter or an email from Joe requesting a transitional plan for the shutdown of Gilson Avenue, and was supposed to be by June 1st. And then he basically went out of town for the 4 or 5 days over the holiday weekend. I then yesterday it showed up on a city council informational workshop, which was scheduled for Wednesday, June 3rd, which is next Wednesday. I had a few other items, and number 6 of that on that item was consolidation of the city's fire departments. Funny that we only have one fire department, but the consolidation of the city's fire departments. So I asked Joe, hey, what's going on? I was never, we never had any discussions about anything like that, etc. So he started down his spiel of our overtime costs are killing him, and that they need to look at ways of saving money. And one of those ways would be the closing of Gilson. This is in his words. So the closing of Gilson Avenue would allow him to close this station, bring guys downtown, everybody run out of one station, and when guys took off, they wouldn't be able to, it wouldn't cost them any overtime. And so this conversation went back and forth about, he says, yeah, there's 4 guys on the rig, so if I close Gilson Avenue, I bring those guys down, et cetera, et cetera. About 10 minutes, 12 minutes of discussion, going back and forth, talking about the same thing. Eventually, Kevin said, well, you do realize that there's 4 guys at headquarters, and there's 4 guys at Gilson Avenue, and we have an 8-man minimum. So when you bring 4 guys from Gilson Avenue to headquarters, it does nothing more than save you a couple $1,000s of utility bills. And he said, well, what are you talking about? He says, there's 4 guys per vehicle, and there's like 4 or 5 vehicles over there at headquarters. So then it started to click that he was believing that on each apparatus that he saw, that there was 4 people on that apparatus. So technically, if each apparatus had 4 guys on it, and there was that many apparatus, when somebody took off, you wouldn't have to pay overtime, correct? So it was kind of concerning at best that the city manager was not aware of how we staff, in the very least, and was making decisions based on answers that he did not have. We schooled him up a little bit on it, explained to him that I was worried that obviously the idea that he is not aware of this, and I never got a phone call. Kevin never got a phone call, and explaining what is going on with the fire service in the city of Weirton, and here we are going to put on the list of things to chop down a closing of a firehouse without understanding the actual staffing model. So he understood that at the end, according to what he said. That is still on the agenda for Wednesday on the budget workshop, informational workshop. It's a city council informational workshop. That should probably be live streamed. I will be in attendance. The COVID-19 restrictions kind of are there, so I don't know what we want to do with everybody being there. If it's streamed, would be great. But that, we got past the first hurdle of the city manager. But there are 7 councilmen involved in these discussions. Now, who called for it, whether it be Joe or those 7, I guess we're going to find out this week. I know at least 3 or 4 councilmen, though, that have half of a clue of how we do our staffing and our overtime, etc. Those are the worrisome ones, and the ones that we're going to have to see what comes out of that informational workshop. Joe's very aware, and with our current staffing model of now explaining to him, and the overtime problem is still occurring. So that is still in our worry bank there, and hopefully we don't make it
Service District 2 for
through this with too much issues. Stand by. Let's see where somebody's going.
Ambulance Service District 2, 102 Northview Court, 102 Northview Court. 87-year-old male, chest pain, shortness of breath, has taken 2 doses of nitro.
All right, so
102 Northview Court.
That's where that came out of there, with the idea of that. So we'll see what happens on Wednesday, and we will kind of roll that way. I also discussed in that meeting he was not a fan of running EMS, but that was in the original staffing where he thought that every time that a truck rolled out for EMS that it was getting 4 people on it. So we explained to him the value of EMS and the idea that that's one of the things that we do that utilizes your employees to the fullest, while we should be running EMS as a department, fire-based EMS. That is the service providing where people are absolutely still alive in this city because of that reason. So he kind of understood that, and obviously explained to him the cost factor of EMS is really not all that high as you get most of your stuff restocked minus medications, etc. So again, kind of concerning that the people making the decisions have no idea what is going on here at the fire department and have made no attempt to try to find out. Hopefully that changes in the near future. And also he discussed mutual aid and wanting to do away with mutual aid in the most cases. We explained to him all the different ins and outs of what we get provided. We said about Oakland. Oakland obviously is tasking us with their fire service. They don't even respond anymore. That could be addressed. There are some things with grants and mutual aid agreements with your surrounding partners, so that's all something that they would have to figure out. That's way past my worry. He did talk about the 22 stretch there that's Brooke County, and that he didn't want to be running out there for police or fire if they didn't want to annex that anymore. And again, those are all decisions made at a higher end. So just wanted to give you the heads up, let you know what was discussed. By no means out of the woods with any of this. The overtime is still the overtime. They're not aware that they were asked about individual overtime problems and is that causing the issue? And no, and in fact we even used specific examples. He said, no, I mean, you were here for the times that I paid you. I'm not saying that you personally are the problem. It's just a problem in general. So, so that was questioned by us just to make sure that it wasn't a, hey, this guy's making more money than this guy, or this guy's making more money than a cop or a police chief or whatever it may be. So, anything else that we find out, let you know. We'll be getting in touch with you in regards to the perfect attendance and the vacation problems. So, thanks, guys. Stay safe. Bye.